I can think of a million reasons to not do this.
You cannot compete with Matt Diavella.
Dude, your life is good. Let this dream go.
You're almost 34.
You're gonna lose everything. You're gonna lose your reputation. People are gonna think you're an idiot.
What do you have that they don't have?
What do you have, huh?
You can't compete. You can't compete. You're right. I can't. So maybe I won't. Maybe I'll specialize in being me. When I think about my path from 1,000 to 100,000 subscribers, I get paralyzed by the comparison trap. Because when I look at any particular category or skill set required to be successful on this platform, I lose, and I lose in a big way. And looking through this lens is not empowering, because if I truly can't compete in any one category or skill set, what can I really offer anybody that's not already being offered? Why not just let the professionals do their thing and I'll just focus on other aspects of my life and watch YouTube from afar? But what keeps me curious about this journey is that there is one category that I am uniquely positioned to be the best in the world at. And that is, nobody on the planet is better at being me than me. It seems like the comparison game cannot be won, but it can be transcended. And the way to transcend it is for the work to be so uniquely me, to be such an authentic extension of who I am, that uniqueness itself is the thing, that is the value that I'm able to offer the world. That said, as a new creator, my uniqueness alone is not enough, right? I need people to click my videos and watch them. And so to get eyes on my content, I essentially have to, package up my uniqueness in a way that's relatable or interesting or valuable to people. And so I want to talk about how I'm approaching this from my own point of view, but also leaning on insights that I've taken away from creators like Matt Diavella and Dan Coe. Let's talk about how to escape competition through authenticity by specializing in being you. Competition is kind of for losers. And it's not just because the comparison game is an unwinnable game. It's because competition breeds mimicry. It creates limitation, and it's not conducive to authenticity. I've played a handful of hierarchy-based games in my life. I played the money game, the career game, the dating game, the travel game. Climbing the ladder of status or skill can be really rewarding. These games have made me a more effective person, and they have provided worldly results. But to climb a ladder and to play the comparison game on the way up, that is a recipe for anxiety and ineffectiveness. With every up level, there's a new context to compare myself to and a new way to lose. But there's another often overlooked implication of all this, and that's that this competitive lens, it typically starts to bleed into things that I never initially wanted in the first place. And now all of a sudden, I'm getting anxious over things that are not worth competing for, or things that were not part of my initial vision of why I started. I share all that because I ideally want to avoid this trap in my YouTube journey. When I think about my ultimate goal with all this, I want to express my authenticity. I want to articulate the truth as I understand it in a way that ideally helps people or is interesting to people and builds some community. But as I name that goal clearly, even right now as I say it, some fear comes up, right? Because what if my authenticity is not enough? Before we talk about the way I intend to strike the balance between authenticity and value, I think it's first important to take a moment to face the consequences of being truly seen. To create anything from an authentic place, it appears to require two things. First is vulnerability, and second is the courage to be disliked. I'm generally comfortable with my ability to express my vulnerability. I've done enough years of therapy and spiritual work by now that I'm pretty adept at being able to tap into my vulnerability and articulate it. That's in part why I'm drawn to YouTube and creative work like this. But that second requirement, that courage to be disliked, I'll be honest, that's on my edge for sure. I actually made a YouTube video about why I'll never succeed on YouTube. And in that video, I talk a bit more in depth about how, if I'm honest with myself, I want to maintain a particular self-image. But the theme of my life, the theme of this channel, is all about freedom, right? Creative freedom, financial freedom, social freedom, spiritual freedom. And I recently read this book, The Courage to be Disliked, and I had a bit of an epiphany when the author defined freedom through that specific lens. And the definition essentially states that true freedom actually is this courage to be disliked, in that by conducting my life in a way as to not be disliked is actually an extremely unfree way of living. And so with that, I do have to embrace that there is a cost if I want to exercise my true freedom, my true authenticity. And that cost, when it comes to creative endeavors or interpersonal relationships, is being disliked. This willingness to be disliked, this courage to, let go of my self-image, it scares me a bit, but it's not so scary that it's gonna stop me from going on this journey. My hope is that this courage is more like building a muscle than flipping a light switch, and that the more I live in alignment to my value and to what I want to accomplish, the stronger that courage gets and the more willing I am to express my true authenticity. I'll be candid about how my relationship to this courage evolves over time, or if it doesn't evolve over time. For those of you who feel like I feel around this, or maybe even if you're ahead of me and you've worked through it, I'd love to hear in the comments like what your relationship to this is and how it's maybe evolved over time. Let's talk about how I intend to optimize for both authenticity and value, and also why there is value in authenticity, and the way that my sincere talents and interests can all come together and actually create a content strategy that can drive growth on YouTube. I mentioned early on that when I look at any particular category or skill set, I can't compete. And that's true. But the thing is, I don't need to be the world's best at any particular category. What I need to be is pretty good at a handful of categories that are really unique to me. In the spirit of Scott Adams and his concept of the talent stack, there are two ways to be extraordinary. The first way is to be the world's best at one thing. The second way to be extraordinary is to be pretty good at two or more things, like top 25% at those two or more things. The free market rewards things that are both rare and valuable. I can make myself rare by packaging up just a few of my pretty goods in a pattern that is pretty unique to me. And so in this case, my uniqueness is my content strategy. My personal brand is my philosophy. It's my approach to life. And the value of that approach to life is the life outcomes it's driven for me personally and the problems that it's helped me solve. To solidify and articulate my content strategy that's based on my uniqueness, I'm going to lean on a couple frameworks. One is an insight and framework from Matt Diavella from his Master YouTube course, and the other is a framework from Dan Koh and his 2-hour writer course. My content strategy and the positioning of my personal brand can essentially be packaged up by answering a handful of specific questions. The first question is, why YouTube? The second question is, what do I provide? Asked another way, it could be, why anything at all? Third is, why is it different? Also asked, why me? Fourth is, what are my content pillars and the underlying themes? And lastly, the question of, should I make this specific video? Some of these questions are more for personal introspection, like why YouTube? That's more for me to do some exploration around why I'm picking this particular medium, why it's meaningful to me, why my skills and my talents might be conducive to being successful on this platform. And some of these questions could essentially be viewer facing, right? They could be almost an articulation of the potential value that they'll get by watching my videos? The answer to these questions have almost become the foundation, the guideline for how I think about what this channel is, the value that viewers could potentially get, and a framework to think about what types of videos to create. Matt D'Avella talks about this triangle of strengths and essentially states that to have a successful channel, you need to have at least 2 of these strengths. And those 3 strengths are: first, personality; second, filmmaking chops; and third, content value. I don't need to be excellent at 2 out of the 3, but I need to get clear on and realistic on which 2 are gonna be my strengths, which ones I should focus on and develop, and which one am I comfortable lagging a bit and not prioritizing. For me, I know for certain that I simply do not have filmmaking chops. Nobody's gonna click on this channel and watch it because I'm making, amazing cinematography or capturing incredible stories through video alone. My channel is gonna be based around my personality and content value. People who are gonna stumble upon my videos and like them are gonna ideally like them because I'm offering some type of value that resonates with them, and then also something about my personality just makes sense and makes the message resonate with them. I want to delve a bit deeper into how I thought about the underlying themes, the content pillars. I borrowed this framework from Dan Co, and it's been really useful for me, and I think it could deliver some value for you as well. For this exercise and this framework, you need to pick 3 interests, and these interests are going to have different characteristics. The first interest is going to be something that excites you. The second one is going to be something that develops you. The third one is going to be one that makes money. Now, I'll walk through what mine are, but to give you some food for thought, the interest that excites you, for me, I just thought about, how do I like to spend my free time? When I'm reading a book, when I'm watching a YouTube video, when I'm pondering something in my free time, what interest typically takes up that space? When I think about something that I could spend the rest of my life learning more about and be excited about it, what interest is that? For an interest that develops me, I thought, what is a topic, a theme, an interest that keeps me on my edge in life? Something that helps me understand myself better, helps me understand the world better, other people better, and something that by articulating my understanding of it could help other people as well. And lastly, an interest that makes money. Now, technically, this interest could be anything, but what I did for this is I looked at creators, I looked at solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and I looked at which skill sets, which trades, which crafts do they partake in that tends to make money, that tends to be monetizable. And so those are the 3 categories of interest that I use to help build out my content strategy. Beneath those interests are topics, real world problems and outcomes, and video ideas. I'm gonna give you an example of what this looks like for me under one of my interests, one of my content pillars. And then I wanna take you through a really awesome checklist that Matt D'Avella proposes YouTubers go through before they start to allocate energy to a new video. I'll quickly run through my 3 interests just to give you a clear sense for how I think about it. But also, if you're new to my channel, it might help contextualize the type of content that I'm gonna be making here. When it comes to the interest that excites me, that answer was pretty easy for me. The answer is spirituality. When I look at the books that I read, the podcasts I listen to, the things that I ponder and I write about in my free time, it all comes down to spiritual ideas, spiritual philosophies, and the nature of consciousness. This interest has led me to, going to Asia and doing 10-day Vipassana retreats. It's led me to, being around amazing teachers like Muji and Ram Dass. And so this is an interest that I can see myself being excited to explore for the rest of my life. When I break this interest down into the topics and the themes, it looks something like this. Ideas like understanding the mind, what is the nature of the self, what is the utility of spirituality versus a lot of the spiritual bypassing that you see in the spiritual community today. What have I learned about meditation, about Buddhism? What's the truth about self-love and abundance? What is enlightenment? Is there a path to get there? All of these topics and themes really excite me. And so I'm excited to eventually make some videos that are a bit more spiritually focused. The second interest, the interest that develops me, I framed as self-actualization. Now, I know that's a little broad. I mean, it could be framed up as self-development, self-help, but when I think about an interest that's gonna constantly keep me on my edge and help me keep other people on their edge and help them grow, I think this is the best way to frame it up. And when I think about the topics and themes that I'll be most passionate about and I feel like I know most about, it's gonna be topics like moving to a new city, building a social life, meeting new people, physical health, mental health, long-term travel, dating, romantic relationships, effective communication. All of these topics and the underlying problems and outcomes within those themes have been critically important for me personally in my growth and my effectiveness of the world. And so I'm eager to express the things that I've learned and hopefully help other people in the process. Now, the third interest, the interest that makes money, again, this could be any interest technically. There are plenty of people who monetize spirituality, they monetize self-actualization. But when I look at my skill sets, what I've done in my career, what I'm doing right now with the creation of this YouTube channel, I can't help but feel my most monetizable interest is gonna be around solopreneurship and wealth. The topics within this interest would be things like sales and persuasive communication, investing and wealth building. And the last few there are definitely works in progress. You know, I want to reduce reliance on my 9 to 5. I want to build a successful business on YouTube. I'm just starting that journey, but I'm optimistic that as I go through these early stages, I can share insights and lessons that ideally help people who are where I'm at. I feel like I'm on day 0 on those topics, but I think putting it in the category that can potentially make money is exciting to me because ideally I'm learning some really interesting lessons along the way. And I think that'll be a cool position to share those insights because I'm gonna be in the thick of it. And so those are my 3 interests that are gonna drive my authentic content strategy, one that excites me, one that develops me, one that could potentially make money. From those interests, we have topics and themes. From there, we have the real world outcomes and problems. And from those problems, from those outcomes come video ideas. And so to wrap this video, I wanna walk through what video ideas could look like under one content pillar. And then I wanna walk you through a really useful checklist that Matt D'Avella shares in his master YouTube course. And this checklist is designed to help a creator like me determine whether or not a specific video idea is actually worth allocating energy to and executing on. When it comes to video ideas, for the sake of example, we'll use the self-actualization interest pillar. Within that interest here, we have 3 kind of subtopics. One is social life, one is moving and travel, one is more self-development focused. These video ideas are based on the real world problems that I've solved and the outcomes that those have driven. These video ideas and these potential titles, they're a bit mysterious, right? I mean, the best way to accelerate your social life, the secret to being more likable. But these titles, these ideas are around a core idea or a core problem that I've solved, and they're packaged up in a way that could be kind of a mysterious and compelling video title. Now, once I have a list of video titles, video ideas, I'm gonna go ahead and pick the one that feels most exciting to me, the one that I feel like I could execute on with the most passion. And then I'm going to use this checklist from Matt D'Avella to really sit down and examine, should I make this video? And the checklist looks like this. First, will this video help people? Can I make it interesting? Does this idea excite me? Is this the first time it's been done? And if not, can I make it my own? Can this video idea be described in 70 characters or less? Can it be made in 1 week or before my next upload deadline? Is it realistic to make this video with respect to my budget and my resources? I have to say, I love this framework. I think these questions are extremely useful in screening on whether or not a video idea is worth creating. And it's not that every video and every piece of content that I make has to nail all of these criteria. But if I really want to create a channel that's going to grow on YouTube and again, package my authenticity in a way that's going to drive growth, these questions really get to the core of what's going to drive that growth, of what's going to get people to click on my videos. And so a big shout out to Matt D'Avella, to to Dan Coe for these useful frameworks that have really helped me solidify and feel like I have a solid foundation for the type of content that I want to create. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. This is an exercise that I'm doing anyway, and I thought it might be helpful to share with people who might be in a similar position. Having this desire to create, and specifically to create YouTube videos, it can be a little overwhelming, it can be a little scattered, and going through this exercise and examining, what am I gonna provide? Why am I uniquely positioned to provide it? Has been a really helpful exercise in solidifying the path forward for me. Going through this exercise has been humbling, and it's really helped me examine my seriousness about doing YouTube, because no one's gonna watch my videos, like not for a long time, right? I'm 50 videos away, 100 videos away from having real people watching my stuff on a consistent basis. And I really feel like the only way for me to not give up on this thing is to have a core foundation of why I'm doing it, what I'm doing, and the value that I'm aiming to provide for people. And I wanted to take a moment just to articulate this idea of, not getting caught up in the competitive trap, and realizing that sincerely, authenticity is the only way to transcend that game. But the challenge of making authenticity relatable and valuable, I think, is a problem that a lot of new creators run into, and it can be really disheartening. We want to create to express our authenticity, and I think particularly with YouTube, it's ultra vulnerable, because you're putting yourself out there on video, and you're talking to a camera, and you're sharing your insights, you're sharing your humanness, and it's kind of tough when no one watches it. It's a little weird to just talk to the void for so long, but any successful YouTuber talks about how that's just the nature of how it goes. You've got to talk into the void for a while. So guys, this is me talking to the void for a while. If you did watch till right now, thank you so much. I think you're amazing. If you have made it this far, well, now you have a sense for what I'm going to be talking about on this channel, and if it sounds interesting to you, go ahead and subscribe. Just know I'm sending positive vibes to all the aspiring and the upcoming creators out there, especially on YouTube right now. And I'm in it with you. I'm excited to go on the journey, see where it takes me, and share some insights along the way. So thanks everybody. Peace.